A new season in the monetary system is coming. That is what we are going to talk about today. Let's start with the past. Let's get into the present. Then we will go to the future. That's why this is the Go Show. As I take you to a trip back to memory lane, my journey towards social good started in my teens. Back in the university, I became the external vice president. And in that time, I started doing social good and social charitable works. We were doing a lot of surveys and research in neighborhood communities, trying to see how we can help children and youth coming from broken families. That was the beginning of what actually became the focus of my career. I started working as a resident intern when I was in the University of Asia and Pacific taking my master's degree. I was working in Citibank in their marketing communications team. In that year, I got to learn the ropes on how marketing is done between liaison within, from the advertising agency with me as the client in Citibank, and we were actually working on posters and application forms for credit cards. And then later on, we even shot these commercials from studios and had these commercials published in major newspapers. After the end of my stint in Citibank, my very first professional job was actually with GE, General Electric, and I was in GE Money, and I was actually working in their corporate affairs or corporate social responsibility team. I fell in love with doing corporate social responsibility, and I was actually the program manager of the corporate citizenship program of GE, which was Women Entrepreneurship. Over my stint there for over maybe 2, 3 years that I was in GE, I was running these projects together with the nonprofits in the Philippines. I was also running projects together with the women universities, trying to teach them entrepreneurship, trying to teach them how to make their money work for them. We had this program called Finance or Fun in Finance. It's a board game that helps teach children the basics of finance, budgeting, income statement, balance sheet, but using a board game to make it fun for them. That program, we're able to deploy it in universities, 8 women's universities in the Philippines. And I did that, and that was when I started to even grow my passion in terms of helping young people, young children, youth, fresh graduates, so that they can be entrepreneurs. They can dream big. They can do things and make things happen on their own. Later on, my career moved because GU, eventually the banking arm in the Philippines, was acquired by one of the leading banks, if not the leading bank in the Philippines. Then I was actually moved to the treasury team of that major institution. In that treasury team, I learned a lot about sales. I was actually assigned in the Filipino Chinese desk. 我也要讲闽南话, meaning I can speak the local dialect. I was assigned to the high net worth individuals. And in that period, I learned sales. I learned to talk and communicate with different entrepreneurs and be able to offer them, whether it's products in foreign exchange or deposit, money market funds, and government securities, treasuries like ROPs. And I did that for over 2 years. But after those 2 years that I was able to expand my network and learn real sales and building relationships with these high net worth individuals, I decided to move out of the Philippines. I took that leap of faith. And that was one of the big, I would say, breakthrough moments of my career. I moved to Singapore. That was in January of 2011. And then I moved there not knowing what to expect, but I was applying probably, I was sending probably 50 to 100 applications, sending resumes left and right to find a job. After 1 month, I was able to get a few offers, but I accepted an offer for a nonprofit organization. It turns out that company or that nonprofit organization was called New Life Community Services. That organization was very close to my heart because its purpose is to help young children and youth coming from broken families so that they can build their character and to be successful in life. For us, we were focusing on helping build the next generation of children and youth. And in those years that I was there, I worked there for 4 years and 4 months. And in those years, that was the time of my life because I've learned how to do fundraising. I was running events. I was working with the members of parliament in Singapore. Some of them were the ministers. I was sometimes even invited in these gatherings. So I was able to build relationships with the local government units in Singapore. They call it the local constituencies there. And in that 4 years and 4 months, I continued to grow myself and improve myself. But I felt that it was also the time that I struggled as a foreign worker coming from the Philippines. Although I'm Chinese by blood and how I look, I was also a foreign worker and thereby building relationships with people. It was good. I also wanted to come back to the Philippines because this was where my family resided, and I felt that I could continue my career in the Philippines. Before I came back to the Philippines, I met my co founders in this new business that we started. It's called Beam and Go. That started conceptually in 2014. From 2014 all the way to where it is today, Beam and Go. We call it Beam Your Codes, and then off you go. But a lot of the motivations behind Beam and Go was actually rooted in many of the heartaches, the pains, the sufferings, the challenges that the Filipinos we saw were encountering. Many of them back in 2014-15 did not have even a credit card or bank accounts. They were struggling with their, sometimes even taking out loans from loan sharks, and their passports were being stolen, or they would borrow from friends and not knowing how to pay them back because of what? Because of their extended families in the Philippines and them having the need to support their mom or dad who has high blood pressure or suffering from a terminal illness, let's say cancer. So the bills would be piling up. And then I also saw some of these Filipinos sending money every month, even though their salary is way higher as they were working in Singapore, because I was there. I noticed that they were not saving as much. And not saving as much is making their stint of working overseas longer and longer and longer, thereby affecting their relationship with their children. And on average, they have at least three, sometimes even five children that they've left behind. Later on, I realized that the relationship with their families were also estranged. So with Beam and Go, our focus was actually to create an e-commerce platform. That platform, one of our core solutions was a digital voucher. We call it a digital gift certificate. That digital gift certificate, we had contracts with the supermarkets, the pharmacies, the groceries, so that the beneficiaries can only use it for the basic needs. They cannot use it for alcohol and cigarettes. And it was done so well at the beginning that every day in BeamAndGo, while we were running ads, we were getting at least 100 signups From that point until now, we have over 290,000 registered members in Beam and Go. Right now, we have over 13,000 customers, and I would say around 1,000 are active every month. We have customers in over 93 countries around the world. Some of them are very active, and they've been with us for over 5, some even 7 years since we started. These customers would purchase every month these vouchers from the most notable groceries in the Philippines. We now have over 2,000 branches across all the major brands that you can think of, whether it's SM, Robinsons. We also have the likes of the Gaisanos. In the Visayas and Mindanao region, we have Prince Hypermart based in, now they're nationwide. At the beginning, they only had 15 branches. And now they have nationwide coverage, over 60 branches around the Philippines. We have KCC in the Zamboanga and General Santos area. We have NCCC based in Davao area. And the reason why I'm mentioning some of these brands, and there are even more that we have partners with, is because these are where the OFWs reside in. And later on, we realized how much we're helping these OFWs just by creating a product that's programmed with a contract with the groceries that ensures that the money goes in the right buckets so that the money doesn't get misused by the son, the husband, the relative, and it goes to the proper, budget, that it goes to the basic needs. Later on, we saw in Beam and Go that we started to create other products like delivery of rice. I think Filipinos are one of the biggest rice eaters around the world. Every family would have a budget of at least 25 kilos of rice. You'll be surprised. Some families even have 50 kilos of rice. So we have these products that are delivered door to door, which became popular during the pandemic. So our marketplace has also evolved, not just with the basic needs of grocery vouchers, but we also have door to door delivery of products, which we work with very, very affordable and entrepreneurial SMEs to be able to deliver it at a high level of quality. So, where are we in terms of how I've transitioned myself and how I actually moved from Beam and Go in our mission of returning these OFWs to where cryptocurrency is and how it entered my life? I'm also going to talk about that. Before that, I also want to add one important aspect, which is our ultimate mission and vision in Beam and Go, which was to bring back the Filipinos home. There are 2.2 million registered OFWs, according to the Commission on Filipinos Overseas. But in reality, they said that if you include all the immigrants, all these Filipinos, there are over 10.23 million Filipinos overseas. And we could see on average, we have surveyed Filipinos within Beam and Go, and we have learned that the Filipinos in our platform, they originally wanted only to work overseas for 3 years. 3 years, one contract. But on average, they are living overseas for 13 and a half years. That's why we introduced our second program in Beam and Go, which is a platform called e-tailers platform that allows the OFW to register and become an ambassador of Beam and Go. They can use Beam and Go into their small business so that they can offer them to their family and their friends, their connections overseas, and then use it to offer to their friends, whether it's in Worldwide Plaza in Hong Kong or the Filipino town somewhere in the United States and the United Kingdom, and they can make money while they're overseas. The whole purpose of that app called e-tailers, it's a mobile app POS, a point of sale app that we've given them, is to actually use it so that they can make money while they're working overseas, with the intention of them coming back to the Philippines earlier than the 13 and a half years average. So that is Beam and Go. And now we move to the second part, which is where we are getting into, which is the present. The present now. I ventured into cryptocurrencies during the pandemic. During the pandemic in 2020, 2021, I stumbled upon Ripple as a software company offering blockchain based solutions to remittance centers and also to banking institutions. I was already aware of Ripple and I've heard of XRP as a native asset long ago because of my relationship with a lot of these cross border payments. While working overseas, I've used their platforms as well, different platforms in Singapore, but I didn't realize that the whole business behind it was through the Nostro and Vostro accounts that are being used by these remittance firms, ensuring that they have accounts with all the banks in the Philippines so that when the overseas worker sends money, then these workers can immediately receive the funds in their accounts in the Philippines. But I did not know that back end they needed to pre-fund these accounts, and therefore the charges on the remittances had to add this cable charge in it. Sometimes it's $5, even more than $5 that they have to add on top of every time that they send money to their family members. So I learned about what Ripple wanted to accomplish, which is to drive down the cost of cross border payments and to make sure that they can help these migrant workers to send money to their families cheaper so that they can have more. That was my first foray into cryptocurrency, and that was actually my first purchase of cryptocurrency. I bought worth $200 back in January of 2021. And then soon after, I just kept buying and buying. First, it was XRP, then it was XLM, then it was Algorand, then it was XDC. I fell in love with the world of cryptocurrency, hoping that it would actually be life changing. I have to be honest that, like many people in crypto, I wanted to also be not a slave to the corporate world, to be financially free, and also to be able to help more people through Beam and Go. So most of my small salary that I was getting was being put into cryptocurrency in 2021. Of course, I went through the ups and downs of cryptocurrency investing. In fact, I was there in the meme coin season. Every time Elon would talk about Doge, it pumped, and I myself benefited from it. I always tell this story where I put $600 within 5 days. It went to $20,000 with that Doge token in the Stellar network. But as I made money, I also went through the biggest bear market crash back in December of 2021. Back in October, I heard of this token and coin called Sologenic. And people were saying it's going to tokenize the stocks. And maybe it would. But at that time, I bought into the coin at less than $1. And then it pumped all the way to $6. I did not sell and it crashed. It crashed 98%. I cried. I went through a lot of pain, suffering, in denial. But instead of leaving the scene, I actually got to meet the people in the sologenic team, the small community that was there, and that community was the Zen Lounge. That community I joined, I got to meet people there, and I even became more bullish on an airdrop for a project for those who had sologenic, and that project was called Corium. And every month, based on your sologenic holdings, you get an allocation of Corium. I studied it and I looked at it and I said, this is possibly the new system, the new monetary system, the new enterprise grade blockchain. Then there were so many verbiage on Corium. The first website, they even said Corium is the chosen one, the one blockchain for all, the one blockchain for CBDCs, the one blockchain for metaverse, the one blockchain for tokenization, the one blockchain for cross border remittances, the one blockchain for smart contracts. It was there. I connected with it. Then I started to read deeper and expand my knowledge in blockchain and cryptocurrency. I realized that while I was first and foremost a maximalist of XRP, I realized that there are other blockchain solutions that could possibly be better. Then I saw that Corium could actually be doing the tokenization together with Sologenic. I was just too early in the game. I was just too early that I had to go through probably the longest bear market. It's already at over 500 days, almost 2 years that the market is so down. But then, as I saw it and as I learned from the founders of Corium and Sologenic and the team that's working behind it, that in the bear market, you don't look at the price, you invest in the solutions that will make it in the end. You invest in relationships, in people, in building. And then that's when I started to tweet every day. I started my Twitter, although my Twitter has been around, as a lurker since 2012 in December. I only really started tweeting early 2022. Every day, I would tweet about Sologenic and Corium. Almost everybody would know. Oh, AG Riddlers was my name. People could see it. AG Riddlers was my nickname or my crypto name. And then I would tweet about it and talk about the new financial system is coming. Every day my tweet is buy Corium, consider Corium. This is your last chance to buy, or you'll be a slave to CBDCs. And it became popular. My following started with 200, then became 400, 600. Now it's over 2,000. And everything is organic. I just tweet about how I feel about Corium. Now, why am I talking about this? Is that I believe that just like in the early 90s, people doubted the internet. They doubted HTML, internet. They were late in the investing in these stocks such as Microsoft that went more than thousands of X's for those who were early in investing, whether it's Apple, Google, Amazon, Web2, e-commerce. They were late because they doubted. The news, the media said, okay, we're still in analog stage. Kodak is still a top 500 company, or GE is still one of the most powerful brands in the world. But we go through stages in life. We go through stages in business as well. And in business, you look at what I always talk about, which is a book by Howard. Howard Schultz, if I'm correct. And the article is called Marketing Myopia, and it's by Theodore Levitt. I think it was in 1973. And that's a famous Harvard Business Review article. And that was one of my main takeaways in my master's degree of integrated marketing communications. And it's a subject on marketing principles or principles of marketing. And it talks about the shadow of obsolescence. Before the Ford, people believed in horses. Then it became Ford. Now Kodak also got obliterated by digital cameras. So typewriters were also were disrupted by the new Microsoft Word in the printers. So things evolve. The technologies actually evolve over time. And I feel that we are now at the tipping point, the inflection point where the old, which I was talking about, the monetary system that we're seeing and using today, the high inflation rates, people are struggling, the salaries are the same, and then if you see it now, from the salaries of people now, 20 years, 17 or 18 years ago to today, the fresh graduates in the Philippines are getting the same salary. But if you go to McDonald's and Jollibee, everything is at least 20 to 25% more expensive. So they're getting less with the same salary. So that's the reason why I feel that there is a new shift that has to happen, either a change. People are saying that there could be a major shift, a black swan, a global reset that could happen. We don't know. But what I believe in is that the future will be through blockchain technology, and the future they will be using digital money, and the old will be gone, the new will come. The old on the fiat paper based money will be replaced with a new form of digital money, and people who might question it actually would also need to see the positives that it could give. And what it could actually give is a new and more transparent way of seeing how the governments who are issuing and releasing the funds to the people, they can be tracked. So if there's any corruption that will happen, we'll be able to see it at a governmental level. And I think actually these international organizations, World Bank, International Monetary Fund, the Bank of International Settlements, these big bankers, my opinion is that all of them are talking about building a new solution so that they can curb the corruption that is happening in many countries, including possibly the Philippines. We have to talk about the truth. And my opinion is that it can be improved through the CBDC, central bank digital currency. At the wholesale level first, in my opinion, it will be rolled out in 2024 at the wholesale level across central banks, across commercial banks in the Philippines, where they can actually start trading with one another using CBDCs and together with our central bank. And then later on, it will also be implemented at the retail level with us, with the man on the street to be able to use it. I actually also believe that these CDCs can also be used through releasing of government aid. In the Philippines, we have these conditional cash transfer system, and they can use these CBDCs to be able to help the indigent and the poorest communities to ensure that the money goes to the right place. This is what Beam and Go was pushing since 2014. We were creating contracts with the groceries to ensure that the money doesn't go to alcohol and cigarettes. And now we can use blockchain technology and improve the concept that we had with Beam and Go and be able to use it so that when we deploy the funds to the people, we can set the right conditions. Maybe they should have a job before they get the universal basic income. Maybe they should eat right, you know, consume less sugar, eat healthily, and then they'll be able to receive the funds. Lower their body fat and whatnot. Stop smoking. That they should check their lung condition. So all of these could be set in smart contracts before the aid is released. So that is a picture of what I see the future would be. And I believe that Corium is superior because it is using inter-blockchain communication and COSM-WASM entenderment for smart contracts, and it allows all the different programming languages like Rust, Sharp, and not just Solidity of Ethereum. So when that happens, and if my prediction, my knowledge is correct, I'm just like everybody else. You should do your own research. I believe that Corium can be one of the leading top 5 blockchains in the world. I'm mentioning this to you is because I care. I want people to do their research, but I want them to also have that foresight. Just like there were people who were early in Bitcoin, who were early in Ethereum. I've heard stories of people receiving free Ethereum back in 2016 in Silicon Valley events. Imagine if you had kept it and also bought when it came out at 32 cents, how much would you have today? And it's not just about it becoming a life changing generational wealth for you. For you, everybody has their motivations. But for me, my motivation is actually to build the future through Beam and Go, through the Go Show, our validator, and through many of my social impact initiatives that I will have in the future. Now, before we end, we'll talk about the future. What do I think is is my focus in the years to come? One of my focus areas on top of Beam and Go is actually the Go Show is a social impact validator that aims to empower people and to end poverty, to end discrimination, to end violence, and to end hunger. Let me start with poverty. My heart is with the Philippines. There are over 10 million Filipinos who are working and living overseas, separated from their families. Imagine in the animal kingdom, the animals are together. They're loving each other. But look at it when you compare it with Filipinos. Do you think the Filipinos deserve to be working everywhere in the world and not building the Philippines in our country? Why don't they bring back the jobs back to the Philippines? That is my goal. If I become a billionaire, that is what I will invest in to bring jobs, to bring businesses. If there are roads, communities, towns, agriculture that will be built, why not bring back the Filipinos? Give the universal basic income to them so that they can build back their families. That is my focus. If Corium is where we're going to invest in, not just to help all these investors, we want them to help the initiatives of the Go Show validator. And one of it is to ensure that we bring entrepreneurship back and teach these Filipinos how to fish so that they can start their businesses in the Philippines. Second thing that I was talking about is discrimination. I actually believe that a lot of Filipinos are not just the modern day heroes. We can also call them as modern day Jews because they're brought to so many countries around the world in droves, in millions. The statistics show that over 8,000 Filipinos leave our airports every day looking for jobs overseas. We need to bring them back. They're the modern day heroes. They are not the modern day slaves. We're going to bring them back. We want to make sure that we want to help the Philippines back. Discrimination happens everywhere. You see it in the papers. Filipinos, whether it's in the Middle East, in other countries, in Asia, in Europe, in every corner of the world, not just discriminated, but abused. They're abused with human trafficking, young children brought overseas and treated as slaves. And we want them to also come back. The third part that I also want to talk about is also to help violence that is happening around the world. You are seeing it. There are many different migrant workers that are treated as second, third, fourth class citizens when they move from one nation to another. My heart is actually out for every person and every human being. We need to love one another. And by loving one another is being accepting that we live in this globalized world, and I know that we want to do the proper checks, that they don't have any criminal record, they don't have anything that they'll bring to change, the political views or the religious views of people. But by even by being aware of that, there are so many children that deserve an equal chance in life. And I believe that many of them, are still being, discriminated. They're still seen as second, third, fourth class citizens. And we hope that there is a solution to that. And we're looking at ways that we can also provide impact that is tangible in that arena. Fourth thing is actually, to end hunger. Hunger is everywhere. Imagine. And I can speak on a personal view that I see in the Philippines. The Philippines used to be, it's an agricultural country. It has so much land. International Rice Research Institute was founded, situated in the Philippines, where even Japan used to learn how to farm, produce rice, the best quality rice. But now we are the biggest importers around the world for rice. How is that possible? Corruption. We need to end corruption. I am in favor of CBDCs. I am in favor of fixing the system. I believe the system will be fixed because of the technology of CBDCs. And I believe that as a validator, not just me, Albert Christian Go or AG Riddlers, I believe that this validator will be a good representation of the blockchain because we will make sound decisions. We will make decisions that will represent the minorities, the developing nations, the abused, the discriminated, the people who are going through hunger around the world. That is what we espouse, and that is the group that we represent. I believe there's so much information about Corium, about this enterprise grade blockchain. To those who are watching now and listening to me, my information and my knowledge is how I actually perceive and learn from the information that's provided. There are many different experts in blockchain technology. Everything about the white paper on Corium, the videos on Corium, the verbiage on Corium is there and it's available. And it's important for you to do your own research, to study it yourself before you make any decision. But if you do, just like many of my friends are buying Corium, and they told me after seeing the material on Corium and knowing me as Albert Go, they started to stake in the Go show validator. Many of those who are staking are working in financial institutions, in fast moving consumer goods, they're working in social impact. They're also working in the startup industry. Why? These are my friends. These are people who have known me not just for 10 years. Some of them I've known since I was in kindergarten. almost 30 years. And they believed me because they could see it. And I'm bringing them so that, in my view, this is going to be one of the biggest and most successful blockchains that will help shape humanity. I believe that the Philippines and the Go Show Validator will be one of the premier community and probably the only social impact validator in the Corium blockchain. With that, I invite you to watch and stay tuned for our second episode. And the title of the episode is Why You Should Care About Social Good and Why Cryptocurrency and Blockchain Could Help. This is Albert Go of the Go Show, your weekly dose of crypto using my stories for your investment. See you on our next video.